Hi there. In this video we will be upgrading this Lenovo IdeaPad 3 Gaming from what do we have now? I think 1.8 terabytes. We will be going to 5.5 terabytes or something like that, because there's a bit of weirdness inside of this laptop and I'm using all of the available slots for SSDs in a bit of a weird manner, but hey, it works. So let's do this. And if you want to see the initial video where I did all of that weirdness with SSDs one on top of each other and stuff like that, I will link the video in the description. So to do this, first thing, we have three SSDs inside of this laptop. A 500 gig one, which will stay exactly the same, I'm not upgrading that one. 256 one, that will be removed, but that's the main boot drive, so I need to clone that one to another 1 terabyte M.2 that's in the laptop. So first thing, clone the small one to the 1 terabyte that will remain in the laptop as a boot drive, because we are going to be putting this one in place of the little one. We have Acronis True Image in here, so I'm going to boot from that, but in your case use any cloning software that you prefer. There are a ton of them, even free ones, so that's up to you what you will use. For this laptop I need to search for a pin, because we have the Novo button that will allow us to boot from whatever device that we need. In your case, yeah, this is not really a good pin because it's quite sharp, but I think it will still do the job. In your case, you might need to press, when powering on the laptop, I don't know, F2, F8, F10, F12 to choose your boot drive depending on your laptop maker. Here I have the Novo drive on this laptop, and it will directly power it on into a kind of a boot menu that will allow me to choose whatever I need. My camera will squeak, tripod. So I'm going to choose boot menu and boot from the USB thumb drive. If I can remember which one is it. I think this one, but I'm not sure if it works with EFI boot, but I'm going to try. If not, I will get back to this menu and choose this one, generic flash disk. Let's see UEFI. Acronis True Image, so I need to press 1. Please wait. At this point we just wait for it, so I'll get back to you when it's loaded. I don't have touchpad. I need to plug in a USB mouse, be back in a second. Okay, it recognized the mouse. Let's see. Go to clone disk, manual disk cloning. Here, yeah, this is the USB stick that we booted from. This is the 1 terabyte, and this is the 256 that we had Windows on. So this we want to clone. This we are not touching, it will remain as is. This we want to clone, so we select it and click next. We want to clone it on this one. This is free, so I already removed all that I had on it, and if you are doing this, make sure, in case you have BitLocker on any of them, decrypt them before doing all of this. It makes your life much easier. I always had problems with cloning encrypted drives. I managed to do it in the end, but it just gets more complicated. So cloning this one to this one. Yes, contains some partitions. They don't have useful data. I already made sure of that. Clone with bootable OS for this particular machine. Next, manual, so I will check my own sizes on it. So I think here I can change the size of the partitions, but I think I'm good with what we have here, because it kind of left these guys alone. There are some, I don't know, help partitions from Windows, and put the bulk of the drive on this, which in my opinion is quite good. They are quite small. This is the biggest one, the unlabeled one. But at the end of the day, I'm not touching them. I think it's good what it actually did here. We don't have any unallocated space. That would have been bad to leave space unused. But yeah. Next. Here it shows us what we have now on the disk, on the 1 terabyte, and what we will have later. Okay, it will remain GPT type partition. That's good. Or allocating table, not sure what it's the correct term for it. I don't know if we have any proper options for it. Exclude. No, we will not exclude anything. And we are right back here. That's annoying. So no options. Let's hit proceed and go for it. And now we wait. So I'll get back to you when it's finished. And it's finished. So we are using it on the same computer, so I need to turn off the laptop, remove the source drive, the 256 gig, and then just turn on the computer, because if I don't do that, I have two cloned drives and there will be conflicts between them, and it creates problems. A whole lot of them, I already know, happened to me before. So let's shut this off. Didn't realize to show you, but it's too late now. Don't close the software from the X button, because that requests a reboot. Shut off the laptop by holding your power button. You must make sure it does not reboot, it shuts off. So power button it is. And now let's unplug the drive from it. This thing, the bootable one. It's shut off. Close it. Rotate it. I don't have directly a battery to unplug from here, so I need to open up the cover and go from there. I will simply remove all of the screws with a Phillips screwdriver. Nothing special to it, so get back to you when it's done. Make sure you don't mix up the screws. On this particular laptop, the bottom ones are shorter, so that I keep in here, the longer ones in here. There's a wall between them, so I don't mix anything up when putting back together. Yeah, normally you use a prying tool or some kind of spudger or something like that, but I have opened up this laptop before, and I think at this point in time my fingernail might be enough, although doesn't seem to be at the moment. So yeah, there's that. It is starting to come apart. It just takes time and persuasion. And yeah, it's a bit annoying. I might need to get a tool, but I don't want to, I'm lazy. Closing back up by mistake. Yeah, and also some might say this is not a proper safe surface for working on laptops, and they are absolutely right. Yeah, it's coming apart. I just need to keep at it. Don't use anything sharp from metal, because you might damage it. So yeah, on mine I just need to go all the way around. This is just my fingernail decomposing on the plastic, and it will be open. Lots of clips and annoying ones. And it's finally opened up, and again we can see the weirdness in here. Some thermal paste remaining in there. So the weirdness itself, oh, I need to clean it, so it's good that I'm opening it up. The small one that we will be removing, it was laying on top of this one. Normally you don't have this configuration. If you have these two drives installed, you don't have this one. If you have this one installed, you don't have this one. But I wanted everything, and I still want everything, so it will be even weirder from this point on. Now what I kind of need to do is remove this little guy. That wasn't intentional, but it came out. So I will just put it aside until I'm sure that everything is working. I will not remove any of the tape. Now I need to basically undo the 4 screws for the big drive for the moment. And yes, I want to mention, in theory you can unplug the battery from right here, but I'm not touching anything. I'm quite careful when I install the new drives to not short anything, and in theory this should not have power. Power should be at a minimum inside of... Oh, this is weird. That's a bit of... I think I know where that comes from. There are some thermal pads in there, and literally the not gel, they have something like grease on them. It's coming up and onto this, so we don't care about it. Anyway, I'm quite careful when installing the drives so I don't short anything, although power should be minimum in this area, because otherwise it would be wasteful when the laptop is off, and manufacturers don't want to waste power, because then you would complain that the battery doesn't last enough and discharges even when the laptop is off. My screwdriver was too small for these screws, so I'm getting for a bigger one. Thanks Parts Express. And now in theory... this is not magnetic. Okay. In theory we can kind of get ready to lift this thing up, but not yet, because it has under this particular drive a connector. Let's put this drive somewhere safe. We have this tiny connector, which is a flex foil connector. I'm going to zoom onto it. Quality of the film will degrade. I don't have enough light here, so I need to lift the little tiny flap on the connector itself. It's lifted. It also sticks in place, so that's a bit annoying. Really slowly lift it and remove it, and now our SSD can come out. Ta-da-da! Luckily I remember that one of the screws fell off from this big SSD, so make sure that doesn't remain in there. That would be a bad day. And now I need to go and search for the bracket for this thing, because it comes with a bracket. We need to install it because we will have two 80mm SSDs. The tiny one was a 42mm long SSD, but both the ones that we'll be installing now are 80mm, so that's gonna be fun. Managed to find this, slide it back in place. It's not going that easy, but it went in place, and now we have room for a 80mm drive in both locations. But as you can see, we don't properly have room for the 2.5 anymore. So, idea, let's remove it from the caddy and open it up and see what we have inside. Opened up 3 screws, 2 of them under the label, and Let's see. Oh no, we voided the warranty. What are we going to do now? Be careful where you go touchy touchy. Try to put your fingers as little as possible on it. Let's see how and where we could fit this thing in there. I think we have a winner. Look how nicely this fits. Just in here it's touching the fan, so I need to file down that pin right there from the SATA connector. And then I will just use some Kapton tape to make sure that I isolate everything, because yeah, metal, conductive, this bare metal, short, bad. And this was not cooled down by any means. It did not have a direct contact with the plates, did not have any sort of thermal compound on it. So yeah, it will be just fine. But we need to hold it in place quite well in there, one way or another, and make sure it does not short. And we are almost good. As you can see, up to here it's going perfectly, but then just a tiny bit pushing right on the connector in here. But if we look around, everything else is fitting perfectly. We even have a standoff in here. We will insulate it, obviously. It's not hitting in anything on the PCB because there is nothing in this corner, luckily, which is perfect. Quite a bit of luck this time, and that's awesome. Even this thing, if you can believe it, lines with one of the holes. So pure and dumb luck. Even this, as you could see, aligns with this. So this particular exact model, you can do this with it if you buy it. You can put it in here under the SSD. But what I want to do now, also file down, camera please focus. You can see this is taller, the top side of the connector from the SSD. So I want to file that down to be at the same level as the connector, that's the adapter that's coming from the laptop. We want them at the same level, not raised like it is now. And we are done. And if you can believe it, I ended up actually nibbling with this thing at it. And yes, I hope I didn't do anything wrong, because this is quite dangerous. As you can see, many small components. And I did not back up the data on this thing. Yes, there's nothing important, but yeah, I still don't like to lose data. So this is quite dumb what I'm doing here. But maybe I'm lucky. We'll see. SSD insulated in Kapton tape around. This area also insulated, so basically I have double insulation, and put some double-sided tape into key areas where I want it to touch in here. And if you are thinking maybe that's not enough, you have no idea how strong this particular tape is. I would have problems getting this thing off now, so I will not put more. Let's lower it in place and continue. And it's in. And I can literally move the laptop by pulling on the SSD, so it's not moving. Now let me make sure I can plug this thing in. I will need to bend it. This is flexible and fragile, so make sure you do not damage it. And it's done. And honestly, the whole thing is really how you're doing, but bending this flex was the worst of them all. It's quite a thick flex, at least in that area, so it does not like to be bent. But yeah, I managed to do it in the end. Now let's install an SSD on top of this. And we are getting ready to install the Crucial P3. Should you be doing something like this? Obviously not. Could I have just given up on this and buy even a bigger than 1 terabyte for the second drive and just have two M.2s? Obviously yes. Was it fun? Nope. So let's put this drive in place. And if you are wondering why I'm choosing to put this drive on top of all this jankiness, well, there's a bit of a weirdness. On the PCB it's written storage only, and here system storage. So if I'm looking at the cooling itself, for this drive it only comes up to half of it. The other half is not cooled at all. So yes, the system drive with games and software and whatnot will be hit harder than this drive, which is basically for me a storage drive. So yes, I will be putting the 4 terabyte in here and the other one in there. So let me make sure everything is fully tucked in and aligned, and just put a screw right in there. Although I see it's making a bit of pressure, which the other one didn't. So should I put the other one? This does have a sticker which raises it. Quite annoying, you can see it there. So maybe I'm putting the 1 terabyte in here in the end just for clearance reasons. No, this one kind of does it the same, I think. Yeah, when I worked on this, on the flex foil, I pushed this a little bit, so it's just a slight tiny bit raised from the flex foil itself. But in theory, after you push it down, it doesn't rise up anymore. So it's just a matter of... and also this raises it, look at this. Do you see? This raises the whole SC because it's pushing a bit in our SSD. But this has a screw right here, so this will stay in its normal position lowered. Still a bit of tension. I think we are just hitting a corner of this flex foil. But honestly, truth be told, nothing that I can do at this point anymore. You know what? I'm keeping the 1 terabyte in here and putting the 4 terabytes in there for safety reasons better. Let's put the P3 in. And honestly, you don't need to say it. I'm kind of amazed on how dumb this solution is. But I'm still going to do this. And now looking at it, honestly, it's about the same kind of pressure as the other one. So basically a bit of that pressure is actually the connector itself. So yeah, might be even better than I initially thought. Let's just put a screw in here. And what I noticed that these screws don't actually hold it perfectly in place, so they don't necessarily tighten it, they just kind of make sure it stays there, but they are not tightening it a lot. The more I work on it, the dumber it looks like. So, thermal solution that was on this one, on the Kingston, is now moved to the Crucial one. This thermal pad did not make the gap anymore with my previous modifications, so obviously it will not make it with the new modifications. This is cooled onto the edge of the cooler, but then there's nothing, and the cooler is raised with 1.5 millimeters or something like that. So I needed to add this, which is another type of thermal gel or something like that, but it's a worse transmitting one. But anyway, we are also touching on plastic, so that will not transmit that much. So, and also it needed to be higher exactly on top of the chips because there's a bigger gap in there, but this will not transmit too much. So I will just check temperatures and make sure that everything is okay. But again, should you be doing this? Hell no. Am I doing it? Yes. It's fun. Hopefully we don't burn any components. Put another little blob right here and squished everything just a little bit to be higher, because I realized that it was quite flat already by being used, so maybe it will not make contact anymore. Again, this is dumb, but I'm doing what I can with what I have at the moment. So yeah, now let's close the cover. And yeah, again, in the middle maybe the controller. I think this one has it at the end, but this seems to have identical chips, 4 of them, and in the middle something smaller, so who knows. I don't remember exactly how it's set. It might boot right up when I open it, or might not. We'll see what it does. But if we see any signs of Windows loading, we are good to go, and I will let it enter Windows and go from there. And daughters put fingers in there, and yep, we are loading Windows. Be back when it finishes what it's doing. Haha, first signs of life. So we have the this one again. We have it. It's working, almost full. I will move now to this one, some data, to the 4 terabyte one. This 1 terabyte, again, it's working. We booted from it perfectly. And now I need to enter computer management and create a partition on the 4 terabyte drive. Let's get in here. Disk management. Yep. So disk 1, GUID partition table. Yep, it's a 4 terabyte. That's the only way to go. You can see it right here, unallocated. Right click on it, new simple volume, next, next. And I'm doing this a second time, because first time my phone stopped recording because the memory got full. It seems 128 gigabytes isn't enough anymore these days when you have lots of apps installed and you also use your phone to film for YouTube. Awesome. So doing this again, I deleted the partition. I'm creating it again for you. E letter, that's okay. NTFS default, yep, no volume, new volume, sorry, let's say just 4 TB. Quick format, that's okay. And finish. And I think we're done. Yep, we're done. Here we have it. So let's do some speed test on this one and on the 1 terabyte one, because on the SATA we know the limit, about 530 megs. Now I would just want to find a tiny device to transform this into a USB stick. Not the really long ones, I know those exist. I want one for a 42mm stick. We'll see. Hopefully I can find one. But now this is C drive. Let's give a test on D drive. Is it? No, not D drive. E drive. Jesus. Okay, so let's see what kind of speed we get. And we got our result. And from what I can see, I will make a snip of it. The limiting factor was never the SSD in my laptop, at least. It was the laptop itself, the connection to the SSD. Because I will now do the test on the C drive, the 1 terabyte, and most likely we will get quite similar values. So my laptop cannot really test this SSD. Sorry about that. Test on the 1 terabyte system drive finished. Yes, the values are a bit lower, but not by a bunch. So the difference is relatively small between them. Let me try and put them one next to the other. So yeah, okay, I guess my PC, my laptop, is the limiting factor. So all I can say about the drive up until now, it works. For me, it's more for storage, for fast storage, because I could have put a 2.5-inch hard drive in this laptop, but that wasn't the point, it was too slow. But yeah, I don't need speeds higher than this for what I'm doing, just editing YouTube videos. And yeah, we'll get back to you if I see any issues whatsoever in time. So that's about it for this video. Drives are working perfectly, all of them. Yeah, it's really weird, I don't recommend you do that, but in case you need to, yep, you can go for two 80mm M.2 NVMe SSDs and the PCB from a SATA drive. So there's that, depending what size the PCB is. If it's smaller than the one that I put in, even better. If it's bigger, you might have issues. These are the speeds on the 1TB and on the 4TB. 4TB a tiny bit higher, anyway, good enough. And on the SATA again, it will max out the SATA and be done with it, nothing interesting there. So what can I say? Hope this video helps you, in which case please give it a like, check out my other videos, and as always, see you in the next one. Bye.